Hello, and welcome to another edition of Academic Matters. I'm Joe Marbach, the Provost at LaSalle University. In this program, I'm joined by Dr. Susan Dixon, who is the Chair of the Department of Fine Arts at LaSalle University. Susan, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you very much.
And in fact, welcome to LaSalle. You're newly appointed, and
That's
you've
right.
come from Oklahoma?
I have come from the University of Tulsa in
okay.
Oklahoma, yes.
Well, for folks at home who obviously don't know you, can you tell us a little bit about your background, your specialization, and then ultimately what attracted you to come to LaSalle?
Okay, that's easy. I can do that. Let me first begin by saying I was born in the area. I was born up in Ambler, Pennsylvania, and I won't give you a blow-by-blow of each year of my life, but eventually I did get a doctorate in art history. I think that was back in '91, and I've been teaching art history since then, most recently in Oklahoma for the past 10 years. My specialty is, I like to think of myself as an Italianist. I'm pretty broad in my interest. So I have published, for example, in the 18th century Italy, and am recently engaged in a project that has to do with late 19th, early 20th century Italy. That is right as Italy becomes a nation.
Okay.
And my focus when I research tends to be less on specific works of art or even on artists, but some art historians like myself are interested in sort of the cultural institutions that sponsor or utilize art in some ways, and so that's where my research has taken me.
Okay.
Most recently, again in the 18th century, it's a little literary academy called the Arcadian Academy, and they constructed a garden in Rome, right kind of in the shadow of the Vatican, and unlike many other gardens in Italy at this time that were constructed sort of for the elite, like the princes or the cardinals. This was created by consensus, a little academy, again, a literary academy that had aspirations towards social reform, again, creating a garden as a meeting space for them to kind of toss around ideas about reform.
Mm-hmm.
So that's an example of the kind of research I like to do.
Well, I'll come back to that and ask some questions about what type of art emerges from that. But let's go back to your history, and then we'll talk about those research interests.
Okay. I'm sorry, shall I
So you went to
continue?
Tulsa. How did you end up at Tulsa? Was that right out of graduate school?
No, right out of graduate school. I have my resume suggests that I've been teaching in various places, and that includes my first job in San Diego, my second job in Italy, working for the University of Georgia in their program at Cortona, Italy, and then in Murray State University in Kentucky, in Alfred, New York. They have a nice little program in ceramic art, and they needed an art historian, and then eventually to Tulsa.
Okay.
So I have been kicking around a bit, working for various kinds of institutions, and some in the one-year positions that you get when you're a newbie in the field.
So none of these were postdocs coming out. Okay.
Yeah. But I have to admit, when LaSalle posted the position, and I could see sort of that the institution was investing in the art history program and its great connections with that wonderful museum you have in the lower level of Olney Hall. I thought I need to be in on this. I just thought that. And again, as an Italianist who has this kind of breadth of interest in art produced across the ages, the collection that one of the brothers, Brother Daniel
Burke, right?
that he invested in and is the core of the collection down there in the lower level of Olney. I thought, these are great works of art, and I need to be again part of this thrust to essentially teach using those, give our students the benefit of using a great collection as part of the teaching, and it's part of their research, et cetera. So.
Okay. Well, Susan, how would you in fact do that? I mean, what are you using the museum for? And folks at home may or may not know that we have what is as you rightly pointing out, a gem on campus.
Oh my goodness.
And it's listed in a lot of the historical areas and attractions, but we use it as an educational tool.
Yeah, we do. I mean, sometimes it's and this is all the art history faculty. Well before I came here, they were using it for, in some ways just to demonstrate certain things in the lower level classes about, the way painters use light and color and what iconography certain ages, the Renaissance will use certain iconography when it comes to depicting the baby Jesus, for example, something like that. But there are such gems down there that I can see using it for further in other ways, extended ways. For example, you have an extraordinary portrait of a widow, a 15th century Florentine widow down there, and there has been interest in sort of writing a history of widowhood in this particular age, the Renaissance, Italian Renaissance. Widows were, one would think, widows are not given a lot of power in such a situation. The widows, they were often widowed young because they married, the tradition was to marry older men, and so someone could be a widow at the age of 30.
And these would have been women in upper classes?
The upper classes, yes,
okay.
yes, I'm sorry. Those would be the people who could afford
and to have their portraits right, yeah.
But recent scholarship is showing that these widows have actually great power, and one of the some evidence for that is found in these portraits. And you've got one, again, there aren't that many to be found out there in the United States, and the fact that LaSalle has one is extraordinary. So I can see students sort of engaging in that literature, trying to come up with a history of essentially, gender issues in the Italian Renaissance focused on that particular painting.
Okay, and that would be very different and unique in terms of women's studies and where it's at. So it's early empowerment.
Yeah, early empowerment, absolutely.
Okay. And as you mentioned the museum, I know that one of the things you did at Tulsa was organize a museum studies certificate or management. Could you see that as a possibility here at LaSalle?
I can, and we're, again, I've been here about 4 weeks now, and we're tossing around ideas about how to make, again, what is really a very organic relationship, the art history curriculum and the museum, how that would look in the curriculum. We're still sort of tossing around ideas. For example, I might ask you, I know that the master's program is also interested in perhaps a type of museum degree. Can I ask you about that here?
Sure. Well, we're actually looking at developing a master's degree in nonprofit management and looking at different types of tracks. So we thought there would be a traditional nonprofit management type of track in human services, perhaps one in healthcare, one certainly in education. We think there's a market with the charter schools where they're kind of in and out of both worlds in terms of education, but also needing to raise money and operate it like a business. And then museums. I mean, this is the Philadelphia area is rich, as you know, in terms of cultural attractions and just the number of museums. So we think there might be a market for that type of study. So and of course, that naturally piques my interest in your background in museum studies and a certificate in that area.
I guess I can only tell people to look for the future. We'll have figured this out probably, I don't know, next couple months coming down the line.
Yeah, well, that's when this program's supposed to roll out, so we'll hopefully see what we can incorporate. And, and for the folks that are viewing at home, it will be both face-to-face and online, so we think we can take care of both the local market and maybe a regional or national market along that lines.
Good.
Beyond the museum, what else is going on in the department that you'd like to identify?
Well, we're hoping to add more staff in the art history area. We are hoping to add either a contemporary art historian or a non-Western art historian, so to broaden our offerings. Contemporary art as an offering would be useful because a lot of our students are going off to work in galleries, and so that subject area would be of use to our students. Non-Western, of course, for the same reason, that of all the collecting possibilities here in the United States, it's contemporary art, American art, and non-Western that is available. That is the art that is available. New cultural institutions like museums popping up with those kinds of collections, and our students hopefully will be right there to fill those spots if when those institutions blossom.
Mm-hmm. And as we were talking a little bit before off camera, the department focuses on art history, but also we've got a program in studio art and music that you oversee.
Yes, that's right.
What are we doing in terms of studio art or music?
Yeah, we offer the basics, the kind of very traditional basics in studio art, that is sculpture and painting and drawing as the basis for all good design. And in the music area, we're offering music history courses.
Music history, okay.
Again, the full breadth, early music, art, music of the Enlightenment, romantic music, and also non-Western traditions as well represented.
Okay.
So.
Susan, we're going to have to take a break in just a few seconds. When we come back, I do want to talk to you about what does one do with an art history major. You alluded to it a little bit.
Okay.
So we'll talk about where our students are going and what opportunities are for them.
Okay.
For those of you at home, please stay tuned. I'll be joined once again in the next segment by Dr. Susan Dixon, who is the chair of the Fine Arts Department at Salle University.
For others, it may have just been a summer job. But for me, it was training. Now I'm an Air Force pararescueman, and my job is to save lives. Make the right choices today, and be ready for the challenges tomorrow. This message is brought to you by the U.S. Air Force.
So many kids' activities today seem to leave out the activity part. New research tells us that just getting children to walk an extra 35 minutes a day could spare them the pain of thinning bones later in life. Encourage your kids to get up, get out, and get moving.
Hello. Hey, Grandma, how about another grape soda?
A public service message on building strong bones for kids from the Pediatric Orthopedic Society of North America and the American Academy of Orthopedic Surgeons.
Think you found every hazard out here today? Think again. The spot you missed could be a killer. That spot on your skin could be skin cancer. Fact is, if you're a man over 50, you're in a group most likely to develop skin cancer, including melanoma, the kind that kills one person every hour. 1 in 5 Americans is likely to develop a form of skin cancer during their lifetime. That's why your best shot is to check for a spot. It's easy. Follow through and check your skin. It could be the save of a lifetime. Go to spotskincancer.org to find out how. A message from the American Academy of Dermatology.
Welcome back to Academic Matters. Once again, I'm Joe Marbach, the Provost at LaSalle University, and I'm again joined by Dr. Susan Dixon, the Chair of the Fine Arts Department here at LaSalle. Susan, when we left off, my teaser for the audience, as I'm starting to learn more of what television's all about,
Good.
It was, what do students do with fine arts degrees? I mean, if a parent's at home thinking,
Right.
oh no, all I know about art is starving artists or
Right.
something along that lines, that's not always the case.
Right. No, it's not. The bachelor's, the BA in art history actually qualifies them to work in certain kinds of museum jobs, usually education, as in the registrar's office, especially if that's paired with studio art, in their coursework. And also in retail. You'd be surprised. That's sort of a budding field in museums. Retail, of course, the museum stores are just extraordinary, and they need buyers with, the skills in art history. Publishing and journalism, if someone is interested in art criticism, careers in that. If a student, and teaching, they could teach usually just in the private schools with the BA art history. If they wanted to teach in the public schools, they would most likely need to...
Some other type of certification,
right.
Teaching degree, sure.
Yeah. If they want to go on, I mean, the BA art history is a foundation for lots of disciplines. We have a few students, graduates who went on for a master's in art therapy, Drexel University's program. Of course, they can go on into museum studies programs, which are usually offered at the master's level, and that sort of qualifies them for a kind of a next tier of jobs in museums. And of course, they can go on for the doctorate. The doctorate would prepare them for being a university professor, obviously. A museum director, usually they require a doctorate in art history. My colleague in art history is just now playing with, this is Siobhan Kennedy, is playing with this extraordinary idea that the medical field is interested in, that is that art history makes great training for those in medical careers. And of course, we all knew that because it sensitizes you to, being attentive viewers and sort of analyzing what you see in a kind of context. The context in the case of a doctor or a nurse being, the patient's life. And so anyway, we're finding that, she has found that our students go on for medical careers.
It's very interesting that you mentioned that. Last year, the nursing program started to bring some of their students in and kind of diagnosing the paintings and the individuals that were portrayed, and did they have maladies? It's really trying to get the students to be attentive to the detail that you mentioned.
Yeah, no, I think it's, and again, I'm not sure which medical journal is publishing these papers, but these findings, but nonetheless, art history and medicine are being linked. It's great.
Yeah, well, if one's studying fine art, I would imagine that studying abroad would be a natural and a great benefit, and you've done a lot of work in Rome.
Yeah.
Any thoughts of travel study or leading our students to Rome?
Oh, absolutely. I'd love to do that. I have done that for other universities. Would love to do it for LaSalle as well.
What would that kind of trip look like if the folks at home were planning their Roman holiday?
Well, my great passion, of course, is the Baroque. It's the 17th century. It's the Bernini. It's the Carlo Marat, I don't know if that's a painter who's well known, but nonetheless, Pietra da Cortona, who does these incredibly angelic looking figures, usually a lot of putti or cherubs on, ceilings. And so this is the kind of stuff that I would love to take people by the hand, take them around Rome and show them.
Would they be in museums, or are these in churches, chapels, or just all over? It's just Rome?
Some of them clearly are in museums. Others are in palaces. For example, one of the greatest Baroque ceilings is actually in the U.S. consulate, and you need special permission to go in and look at that. Another actually is in the French consulate, when you need extra special permissions to get in there. But if I could, get those permissions and take our students to these, really extraordinary sites, I would love that. That would be beneficial for all of us, I suspect.
And I guess beneficial in terms of your research. What other areas are you starting to look at and work on?
Yeah, well, another study travel I might like to do, my research lately has taken me, as I said earlier, to the late 19th, early 20th century. And I'm interested in an archaeologist, actually, an Italian archaeologist who, to put it very plainly, whose skills were very good at the early part of his career, but the science of archaeology changes as he sort of, as he progresses, and so he becomes kind of obsolete by the end of his career. So, by studying him and his sort of beliefs also become obsolete. For example, he has great alliance with the papal court, and he, has some sense that certain sites, like the site of the tomb of St. Peter, are that's correct. The body, if archaeologists were to dig there, they would find the body of St. Peter. And other, kind of as the science of archaeology is progressing, they're looking at him kind of squint-eyed and saying, no, it can't possibly be, the body of St. Peter can't be there anymore. So in any event, he becomes a problematic figure in the history of archaeology. Sorry, I don't mean to go into too much depth, but what I'd love to do is, again, even today, there is some sense that archaeology is not in agreement about certain things about the history of Rome, and one of them being the existence of Romulus and Remus. And what I'd love to do is to take students over there and go through the Forum, because the Roman Forum is the place where this kind of debate about, what is correct and what is not correct about the history of Rome as unearthed by the archaeological evidence. This is the place where you can find it.
Okay, so then it's really looking at the larger pictures too, not just the sculptures or the artwork that's there, but the story that it uncovers, I guess, in a certain sense.
Yeah. That would take a certain kind of student, I know, to use their, as you know, the Roman Forum is just a bunch of ruins, it's just a bunch of rocks. So it would take a student with a lot of imagination to imagine, this building used to look like this temple used to look like this grave site used to look like this, etc. But we'll see. I might be able to pull it off.
Yeah. We've only got a couple of minutes left. Anything else happening in the department that folks at home should know about? Any new courses being developed, or what's the most interesting course that you're teaching this semester?
I would say that the museum director, Claire Scarborough, is actually teaching a course that I think is a great prototype, and I'm hoping that we can create more courses. It's on a contemporary painter, African-American, Charles Searles. And the point of the course is that the students, by the end of it, will have compiled an exhibition. And so this is a great way in which there is, that liaison between, the sort of connection between the art history curriculum and the museum.
Yeah, so there's a real practical element in what the students are doing, and that's always a hallmark of LaSallian education. It is, and
again, I'm so excited about what she's doing, and again, hoping that the rest of the faculty can use it as an example.
And as I understand, that's also working with a group out of Temple?
Absolutely.
You know, so we've got a
Right.
little inter-university
Yes.
cooperation going on.
Yeah, the Temple Graduate Program. And so the exhibition will take place in 2 different locations, and again, 2 different groups of students working on it. Our students can see, again, Temple, as you know, has a PhD in art history, and so our students, our undergraduate art history majors, can actually interact with those upper level students at
Yeah,
Temple.
so we're going to see the Temple students to some extent be role models as what's possible for our undergraduates.
Yeah, very exciting, really exciting.
Well, Susan, it sounds like you've got a lot going on. You're still relatively new, so still trying to find your way around campus, and we do appreciate you taking some time out of what is a very busy schedule to visit with us at Academic Matters today.
All right. Well, thank you very much for this opportunity to talk about what a position that I'm really excited about, and about, you know, faculty that I'm really proud of.
Great, great. Well, we're proud to have you and excited to have you on campus.
Okay, thank you.
My guest has been Dr. Susan Dixon, the chair of the Department of Fine Arts here at LaSalle University. Once again, I'm Joe Marbach, the provost at LaSalle. Stay tuned for our next program. Thank you.